Before we begin tonight's journey, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you enjoy relaxing history stories. Your support helps me create more peaceful history videos for you to fall asleep to. Now dim the lights, get comfortable, and let the outside world slowly fade away. Tonight we travel far beyond the mainland, to a lonely medieval island surrounded by endless cold waters. There were no bridges, no roads, no quick escape. The only way to reach this forgotten place was by a small wooden boat. When the sea was calm, the journey was difficult. When storms arrived, it became almost impossible. Once the boat disappeared beyond the waves, the island was completely cut off from the rest of the world. For the people who lived here, every sunrise brought uncertainty. Every visitor wondered the same question: would they ever make it back home? So close your eyes, take a slow, gentle breath, and let us quietly discover what it was really like to live on a remote medieval island. Your journey begins long before the island comes into view. The mainland slowly disappears behind you as a small wooden boat rises and falls with the endless rhythm of the sea. The cold morning air carries the scent of salt and wet timber. The fisherman guiding the boat speaks very little. His eyes remain fixed on the distant horizon, where a dark shape slowly emerges from the mist. At first, it looks like nothing more than a lonely rock surrounded by restless waves. But as the boat draws closer, small cottages appear along the shoreline. Thin trails of smoke drift into the gray sky from simple stone chimneys. A tiny church stands on the highest hill, watching silently over the island below. There are no grand castles, no crowded markets, no busy roads, only a handful of families living far away from the rest of the medieval world. Life here depends entirely on the sea. The fishermen know every current, every hidden reef, every dangerous tide. Without their boats, the island would have no food, no trade, and almost no connection to the outside world. The sea provides everything, but it can also take everything away without warning. As your boat gently touches the wooden dock, you step onto the island. The quiet feels almost unnatural. Only the sound of waves, distant seabirds, and the wind breaking against the cliffs remind you that the world is still moving. For the people who live here, this silence is simply another ordinary day. As you begin walking along the narrow dirt path, it quickly becomes clear that life on this island is very different from life on the mainland. Every cottage is built from rough stone, with thick walls designed to survive fierce winter storms. Their roofs are covered with straw or wooden shingles, weathered by years of salty winds blowing in from the sea. There are no elegant homes, no wealthy merchants, no noble families, only ordinary people who have learned to live with isolation. The villagers greet one another quietly as they begin another day of work. Children carry small buckets toward the village well. Elderly fishermen slowly repair worn fishing nets beside their boats. Women bake dark barley bread while smoke rises gently from simple stone ovens. Nothing here happens in a hurry. Time itself seems to move more slowly on this forgotten island. Fresh food is never guaranteed. Every fishing trip carries uncertainty. Some mornings, the boats return filled with cod, herring, and shellfish. Other days, they return almost empty. When the sea refuses to provide, every family must make their small supplies last a little longer. No one wastes anything. Every piece of wood, every drop of fresh water, every loaf of bread, everything has value, because on a remote medieval island, as the days pass, you begin to understand that the greatest challenge of island life is not hunger, it is isolation. Weeks can pass without a single visitor arriving from the mainland. Sometimes thick fog covers the sea for days, hiding the world beyond the waves. Sometimes violent storms crash against the cliffs, making even the bravest fishermen refuse to sail. During those long days, the island becomes a world entirely of its own. There are no letters, no news, no travelers bringing stories from distant kingdoms. The people know little about wars, kings, or great cities. Their world is measured by the changing tides, the weather, and the fishing seasons. When evening arrives, families gather inside their cottages around a small fire. A simple meal is shared quietly. Perhaps a bowl of fish stew, a piece of coarse bread, maybe a little cheese if supplies have lasted. The flickering fire casts long shadows across the stone walls. Outside, the endless sea continues its slow, restless rhythm. There are no bright lanterns along the shore, no crowds, no music echoing through busy streets, only the wind, the waves, and the comforting voices of family before another peaceful night begins. Not every season is kind to the people of the island. Winter arrives early, carried by freezing winds that sweep across the open sea. The waves grow larger, the skies turn gray. For days at a time, no boat dares to leave the harbor. The villagers prepare carefully. Fish caught during the warmer months have been salted and hung to dry inside small wooden sheds. Barrels of grain are stored wherever there is space. Every family counts its food, hoping it will last until spring. Firewood becomes as valuable as food itself. Without a warm fire, the cold stone cottages willingly become uncomfortable places to live. The nights feel endless. Outside, the wind whistles through the narrow paths between the cottages. The sea crashes endlessly against the dark cliffs below. Inside, people mend clothes, repair fishing nets, carve simple wooden tools, and quietly tell old stories passed down through generations. There is no rush, no excitement, only patience. Because everyone knows that sooner or later, the storm will pass, the sea will become calm once again, and life on the little island will begin its quiet rhythm all over again. As night settles over the island, darkness arrives quickly. There are no street lamps to guide your way, no glowing windows stretching across the horizon. Only a handful of candles flicker behind thick stone walls, their warm light barely escaping into the cold night air. Outside, the sea never truly sleeps. The waves continue their endless conversation with the cliffs, rising and falling beneath the pale moonlight. Some villagers believe the ocean has its own voice. After living here for generations, they claim they can tell when a storm is coming simply by listening to the sound of the waves. Whether that is true or not, no one laughs at the old stories. On an island this remote, experience is often more valuable than written knowledge. As you stand near the edge of the cliffs, the mainland is nowhere to be seen. Only darkness stretches beyond the water. It is strangely peaceful, yet quietly unsettling. You realize that if the weather changed tonight, no boat could reach the island until the sea became calm again. For the people who call this place home, that uncertainty is simply part of everyday life. Tomorrow will arrive with another sunrise. The fishermen will prepare their boats once more. The children will carry water. The smoke will rise from the cottages. And the quiet rhythm of this forgotten medieval island will continue, just as it has for countless generations. As the first light of dawn slowly rises above the sea, the island begins another ordinary day. The fishermen untie their small wooden boats from the weathered dock. They check the ropes, examine their worn nets, and quietly push away from the shore. No one can predict what the sea will offer today. A generous catch or empty nets. The island has always demanded patience. There are no guarantees here. Every meal depends on skill, experience, and a little good fortune. Life moves with the rhythm of the tides. When the tide is low, villagers collect shellfish among the rocks. When it is high, the boats venture farther into open water. Even the smallest child understands that the sea gives life, but it also demands respect. Years pass. Children grow into fishermen. Old cottages are repaired again and again. The tiny church bell continues to echo across the cliffs every Sunday morning. Very little changes, and perhaps that is exactly why life here feels so timeless. Far away, kingdoms rise and fall. Kings fight wars. Castles are built and abandoned. But on this remote medieval island, the greatest concern has always been tomorrow's weather. Whether the boats can sail, whether the fish will return, whether another storm waits beyond the horizon. As our quiet journey comes to an end, you may discover that this forgotten island was never rich in gold or power. Its greatest treasure was something much simpler. A small community that learned to survive together, surrounded by an endless sea. And now, as the waves continue their gentle rhythm beneath the morning sky, it is time to quietly leave the island behind. Until our next journey into history. Text. Thank you for joining me on this quiet journey through the forgotten world of a remote medieval island. If you enjoyed this peaceful history story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It truly helps support more relaxing history videos like this one. Now, as the gentle waves fade into the distance, allow yourself to rest. Imagine the cool sea breeze, the sound of the tide meeting the rocky shore, and the quiet little village slowly falling asleep beneath the stars. Perhaps somewhere, a fisherman is preparing for tomorrow's voyage. A candle burns softly inside a small stone cottage. The church bell stands silent until another sunrise. Life continues, slowly, peacefully, just as it has for centuries. Until our next journey into the quiet corners of history, sleep well, good night,